In this video, I am going to show you how we can configure eBGP neighborship with directly connected interface. Here we have a simple scenario, router 1 connected directly to the router 2, and this is the IP addressing. I configured IP addressing in router 1 and router 2. The IP address of this interface of router 1 is 10.1.2.1/24, and in router 2 we have the IP address of 10.1.2.2/24 on this interface. This is our customer 1 and this is our ISP. The AS number of customer is AS1. The AS number of ISP is 2. How we can configure BGP neighborship or eBGP neighborship with this configuration? Look at here. You need to configure the router BGP AS number first, router BGP1 in router 1, in router 2, router BGP2. After that, you can define the neighbor or neighbors. Neighbor IP remote AS number. Neighbor, then the IP address of the router 2's interface, 10.1.2.2. Remote AS is the AS number of actually router 2. The AS number is 2. And after that, in router 2, you need to configure neighbor 10.1.2.1. This is the IP address of the router 1. And after that, remote AS 1. If you want, optionally you can configure the description for each neighbor. For example, with this command, neighbor IP description, you can define the description. In router 1, this is the command neighbor 10.1.2.2 description, then ISP. And after that, in router 2, neighbor 10.1.2.1 description, CU1 or customer 1. This is the configuration. The first part of configuration, router BGP AS number and then neighbor IP remote AS number is mandatory, but the second part, the neighbor IP description, is actually optional. If you want to check neighborship, you can use show IP BGP summary and also show IP BGP neighbors. Don't forget the newer version of a monitoring configuration, or actually we can say the monitoring commands in BGP is show BGP, then address family, then sub address family, then the keyword. For example, instead of show IP BGP summary, you can use show BGP, then IPv4 unicast summary. For IPv6, you can use show BGP IPv6 unicast summary. And instead of show IP BGP neighbors, you can use show BGP IPv4, then unicast neighbors. Let me to show you how we can configure it. It is very easy. In router 1, first show IP BGP summary can show us that now we don't have any actually BGP configuration in router 1. Let me to start configuration, but we have connectivity between the router 1 and router 2. Ping, for example, 10.1.2.2. As you can see, we have connectivity. Alright, in the router 1, we can start the configuration with router BGP AS number is 1. After that, neighbor 10.1.2.2, then remote AS number is 2. That's it. Let me to configure optionally the description, neighbor again 10.1.2.2, description, and after that, for example, ISP. Okay, this is the configuration of router 1. In router 2, we can use the similar commands, router BGP2, and after that, neighbor 10.1.2.1, remote AS, then 1. And also neighbor 10.1.2.1 description, for example, CU1. That's it. Now you need to wait some second. After some second, you will see that we have neighborship. Here we have a log message for neighborship. Neighbor 10.1.2.1 is up, and here neighbor 10.1.2 is up in router 1. You can use show IP BGP summary for monitoring the neighborship. Okay, show IP BGP summary can show us we have neighborship with the router 2, and as you can see here, the state is empty. Actually, it means that here it shows the prefix received from the router 2. And if you have a problem about the neighborship here, you will see one state. For example, maybe you see idle, active, or some other things. After that, show IP BGP summary can show us these useful informations: BGP router ID, local AS number. Now you know about local AS number. This is the AS number of this router, and also some other information. For example, our neighbor is IP address is 10.1.2.2. The version of BGP that neighbor uses is 4. You know that now the version is 4 about the BGP in all iOS versions. And AS number is 2. This is the AS number of router 2. Here you can see the number of message received from the router 2. Here you can see the number of message sent to the router 2. And also this is the up-down timer. And also, you know that the result of this command is exactly the same with this command, show BGP. And after that, IPv4 unicast summary. As you can see, both of them generate the same result. Actually, the show BGP IPv4 unicast summary is the newer version of the previous command. Also, if you want, you can use show IP BGP neighbors. In router 1, this command generate a long output, show IP BGP neighbors. BGP neighbor is 10.1.2.2, remote alias is 2, and this is the eBGP neighbor. Description is ISP. Don't forget, if you want to see the description, you should use show IP BGP neighbors, and show IP BGP summary doesn't show the description. After that, show BGP IP, let me to show you, show BGP IPv4 unicast neighbors generate the same result. Okay, this is the monitoring command in router 1, and then in router 2, show IP BGP summary. As you can see, we have neighborship with router 1, and also show BGP IPv4 unicast summary generate the same result, and after that show IP BGP neighbors. As you can see, our neighbor is 10.1.2.1, remote AS is 1, and this is eBGP neighbor or external neighbor, and the description is CU1.